session.
Okay, so this is the agenda, guys. Okay, so we'll start from here. Okay, so first question to everyone. Okay, so you can post your answer in the chat. What is the difference between the governance and the best practices? What do you feel that is? What is governance and what is best practice? Is there a real difference between these two, guys? You can post your answer in the chat section. I don't see any answers. Okay, make it interactive, guys. So we are governance is a rule. Okay, Kadesha. Governance should be mandatory, whereas best practices are recommendations. Okay. Okay, so in short, the answer is when best practices is enforced, okay, that becomes a governance. So for example, if you take the example of the password, strong password enforcement. So this is a good example, okay, to illustrate the difference is a strong password enforcement. If you remember, right, in early 2000, most of the organizations recommended that employees choose the strict password, but found many of us we used to use the default password, right? And despite of that best practices, we used to use default password, and now that leads to the unwanted security incidents and data loss and all that stuff. So today, this becomes the governance. Now you should have the strong password. So this is just one example I gave, like when best practices, best practices are there, but when those are enforced, then those becomes the governance. Okay. Now let's see why we need. So one of the example, the generic example I gave, but we'll go to our because we are from mulesoft context, so we'll put that into our mulesoft context. Okay, so why we need API governance basically, okay, and why we need the best practices first of all. So for example, let's take the example, the genuine example, right? So let's say I got the requirement from the client, okay, and there are multiple APIs we're supposed to implement for the requirement. Now I have API designer, okay. Let's say if I give the same API design, to prepare the design to all my API designer, what will happen? We know that all our API design, if I give that flexibility to them, these API designers are so creative, they will come up with 3 or more than 3 copies of the same requirement in their perspective, right? So let's see how these people will write. Some people give the title. Let's say, for example, this was like user API. Okay, it's a simple employee API or user API. Simple requirement to design this. Now, these 3 people, okay, if I don't have any best practices, what they will do? Based on their knowledge or based on their past experience, they will start writing it. Okay, so if you look at mine, this is not the correct document, guys. Okay, just I added the options here. So if you see the title here, somebody will write a user RESTful API. Somebody will write, if it is a system API, they will write user -sys -v1. Somebody will write complete system. Somebody will write system API. So blah blah blah. They will write it. Okay. Now in version section also, somebody will write 1.0.0, somebody will write v1, somebody will write this. In base URI, somebody will intentionally put the HTTP and somebody will follow the proper instructions, somebody will use HTTPS. Somebody will apply the security schemes, somebody won't. Okay. When they are giving name to the resource, they will try to give all that creativity. Okay. So for example, here resource name, say, let's say hello user. So somebody will write hello -user, somebody will write capital case, what is, I think this is a Pascal case, and somebody will write camel case. So how can we achieve the standardization here? So how can we enforce 3 designer will come up with similar kind of standard document? Okay. In this case, we need API governance. So API governance is nothing but set of rules, best practices or guidelines for the requirement from the company or from the client or from the organization. Okay, so these are guidelines. But this is actually the burden. If I keep on telling them, if I ask them to go refer this document and follow that document and then do the naming conventions and coding standards and all that, it will be burden, right? Now that part we have reduced. I mean, not we, but the MuleSoft, that cut off that part, and they are saying, okay, you have written the document, go ahead and apply this API governance rule set. Okay, and as per the profile, there will be some rule sets over there. Okay, minimum rule sets has to be followed and passed on your document. So that's where designer will, in the design time itself, he'll be able to see what all things are going wrong. Okay, now how this will help? So look at this scenario, right? All these three designer will send this document for the review. If the API governance is not applied, that reviewer will say that reviewer. So there will be a cycle, iteration. So reviewer will go review this document. He will give review comments because these things are not following as per our standards. So go back again, make a change and come back. So it will go in loop in iteration. Okay. So that is avoided with the best practices and the API governance. And that manual part also removed, right? I'm not saying designer to go and follow the document. Now there is API governance. You just apply it. Some rules that we'll see during the demo how to apply that. Okay. Then we'll see how. So for example, one thing I was talking about. So this version, right? Let's say I want to put, here a best practice. Say that, okay, your version should be something like V1. Okay, so V1, V2, V3 till let's say V9. Okay, so in all the API design in the RAMLs, I should see only V1 to V9. No 1.0, no V1, V1.000. No. So for this right now, in API governance, there is no rule set. Okay, so we'll try to see how we can implement for that. For example, right now in the API governance, we have enforcement for HTTPS. What if you requirement of HTTP, right? So right now HTTP is not allowed as per the governance rule set we have. Okay. For example, title. For title, there is no rule set right now. For example, in title, I want to have something like our client standard is, let's say, if you are going to write the system API documentation, in the name, it has to end with sys-API, or it has to be end with, if you are writing for process API, it has to end with PRC-API. So I want to enforce that, let's say, on the documentation. Right now, for that, we don't have rule set. So as part of this session, we'll try to implement those kind of rule sets and as part of demo. Okay. So I'll take a pause already. Any questions on this, guys? Yeah, Balki, see, you just I won't be able to see that chat section.
Yeah, yeah. I will be, if anything, right now, no, that is the question. I will let you know.
Okay, so why we need the API governance? What it is? So basically, when we are applying a rule set, right? So how that rule set is validating your document? So it actually takes the metadata. So API governance is actually a combination of forcing to apply security policies, API standards. That API metadata will be very helpful while validating your document. Okay, so this is called information model approach, where you are validating based on the metadata. So your document will provide metadata to the API governance. API governance will validate against the rule sets based on the profile. Okay, so every company have more than one or more than profiles, and those profiles will filter your APIs. We'll see how to filter all those things. But the API governance behind the scene, it's we talked about it's kind of burden right now. It's no more burden. It's behind the scene. Rule sets will be applied by using metadata of your API. Okay. Now let's see. So first thing comes when we talked about API governance, that is API governance profile. Okay. So you can create one or more than one profile. So you start with the general information you provide, information about your profile. So it should be context specific. If you are trying to create best practices profile, go ahead and give that proper name, write the purpose, then select what all root sets you want to have this in profile. Okay, so if you are going for best practices, go all the best practices, select all the best practices rule set. For example, Anypoint best practice, we have async, we have data graph, we have something called one more is there. And just so we have 8 out of the box rule set. Uh, from those 8 rule sets, we have some specific to the best practices. Then you can filter the setup. So you can decide here, okay, this profile should be applied on this set of APIs. So those set of APIs, how will you identify? So each API will have some kind of tags, okay, some kind of categories. So you can select those categories and tags. When API governance started, that time API governance was only supported REST API. Now it started supporting data graph. It started supporting the async API. Now you can see here REST APIs and async API option also will come. But initially it was only for REST APIs only, and this is specific to the Mule APIs only, guys. Okay, so mulesoft APIs. So REST API, asynchronous APIs also supported. Yeah, so best practices for asynchronous API. That was from the previous slide. Okay. So you can filter it based on the tags. So you can say that, okay, so bank specific tag, let's say APIs you have. So definitely there will be a tag for bank. Or if you really want to apply only on system APIs, you add the system API tag to your APIs. All those APIs will be filtered over here, and then that group will be assigned to this particular profile. Then you have option to send the notification if it is not conformant. Your APIs are not passing these rule sets. You can notify the publisher who publishes, or you can notify the set of people or the group of people who are supporting this APIs. So either in case of errors also, or even if there are no errors, even in that case you can notify the API owners or the team which is handling this APIs. These are the 8 rule sets out of the box. We'll get it. Okay, so as I mentioned, initially started with 6. Now we have 8. Okay, so the recently added is data graph and the asynchronous API. Okay, best practices. Any questions so far?
No, Ashish, we are good. Go ahead.
Okay. So when you are planning to apply API governance,
First thing from
sorry,
update.
yeah, go ahead.
Do we know what is MuleSoft using behind these rule sets? Something like a spectral linting?
There is a framework, guys. Okay, so when we're talking about, I'll show you that. Okay, so that is nowhere right now mentioned in the MuleSoft documentation. I'm not sure what is the future plan. So this is AMF framework. Okay, so this rule set is written in the AMF framework. Okay, so I'll show you that how it is. So there are classes, there are code written. Okay, those will be invoked by your Anypoint platform. Okay, so I'll show you that. That is not you need to. I'll post that link in the chat. Okay, so how the AMF looks like, that is like anything modeling framework or something like that, that is used behind the scene by API governance to write the rule set and use the metadata and validate the API documentation.
Is it
Okay.
open source? Ashish, he's asking.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just look at that document, but the documentation is available. Okay, so Anypoint platform is using behind the scene. We are not sure. Okay. It should be. I don't have answer to that whether it's open source or not. Even when I was preparing for this, that time I came to know that there is a something called AMF framework. Okay, I'm not familiar that much with that. So for this POCs, I read it and I figure out those component. What are the classes responsible for this particular requirement? Only that part I have explored. Okay, so I'll show you how it looks. Okay. Then maybe if I get answer to that, whether it's open source or something. So Anypoint platform is using behind the scene. I'm not sure. Okay, who is supporting that AMF framework and all. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Ashish.
Okay. So when you're planning to use API governance, so we need to know few concepts. Okay. So let's go one by one. So we started with the profile. Okay. So API governance profile is as I spoke about it, like it's a set of rule sets, we can say guidelines, which are getting enforced on the API documentation, basically the design part, and then Based on the profile, the API will be filtered, and all those API should follow or pass all the rule sets. Okay. Now, if you see here in the profile section, there are two statuses. Okay, one is normal and one is at risk. So when your profile will be at normal and when it will be at risk. So basically, your profile will be in the normal state if all the APIs of all the profiles, okay, those are following. The let's say you have 10 APIs filtered for this profile. Out of 10, 7 or more has to follow all the rule sets from that profile. Clear? So if you have 10 APIs, more than 70%, more than 70% of your API should follow all the rule sets. Then only your profile will be at normal. If it is less than or equal to then 70%, it will be at risk. Okay. Hope that is clear to everyone. Then something called governance rule set API conformance. We'll see that. So governance rule sets are nothing but the we have collections of rules over there. So as I shown already, right? So some are related to the best practices, some are related to the HTTPS, some are related to the web security specific, and some are related to the platform best practices. So those are rules, set of rules over there in the governance rule set. So we are going to see if the existing rule set will open and we'll see how that is written, okay, and what all things are there, what all components are there, and even we'll try to customize it. We'll see that, okay. Now, what is a API conformance? So conformance has three. So the API will be having three statuses, okay. Either is conformant, non-conformant, or not validated. So let's see. First one, conformant means this API from this profile, all the rule set, if it is passing, okay, then it will be conformant. If it is missing even single one, right, then it will be there in the non-conformant. And if your API is not even filtered, okay, in this criteria, that will be there in not validated status. So if that API is not there, that API will be in the not validated format status. Okay, hope that is clear. 100% passing the rule sets, conformant. Less than 100%, non-conformant. Even if it is not passing the criteria of the profile, then it's a not validated. Okay, 3 steps. Okay, so yeah, so these APIs, we call it governed API. So governed API means you got that in previous slide I said, right? There'll be some tags, there'll be some categories. So if this APIs satisfy those tags and those categories, we call it governed API. So based on the filter criteria, if that API comes over there, we call it governed API. And the governed API will have these statuses. Okay, hope that is clear to everyone. Then there is something called non-conformance by severity. So why high severity, medium severity, and low? So how we'll decide that? Okay, so let's say if it is not satisfying the even single rule set from your profile, then definitely that will be a non-conformant. Now from that non-conformant API, when you decide whether it's a high severity or so, if it is 0 to 40%, then it's a high. If it is 41 to something called 80%, it will be medium, and from 81 to 99, it will be low. And then if it is 100%, we know that what it will be conformant, right? So these are the concepts we have in the API governance when we talked about. So profile, governed API, API conformance, non-conformance by severity, and we'll be able to notify the owners, set of people directly from here. So you can see the, just let me put it. Here, if you see the options are here, see. So these options will give you the to notify. Even if it is, see here, this is a conformant. Even if it's for passing all this rules, even in that case also you can notify users that your API is successfully passing all the rules. Okay. One more thing, for this particular profile, you can download the report. You can see the report. You'll get a report.csv file, and you can see that what all APIs are there, what is the status, all that CSV report. You can use it for dashboarding or for audit point of view. So you can download the report from here. There is option here, this one. Okay. Yeah, you can create more than one profile. Okay, so based on the context, based on the business, you can group the APIs and create one profile for each, and have that in your Anypoint platform. Okay, so any questions on the API governance concepts?
So, this is one question.
Mhm.
Any update from the MuleSoft right now? We have any out of the box APIs to export the reports if we want to
Uh,
add on in the automation point of view?
yeah, good questions. I didn't explore it. Definitely there will be a platform API, but I'm not sure right now whether there is a platform API. Okay, I didn't
Uh,
explore that part.
I was trying to
Manually,
see that, but
yeah,
yeah, because here we have to go and manually,
correct.
correct that. But if we want to do some automations, obviously we have to call the backend APIs and we'll get the required data, right?
Correct,
And we
correct,
can
correct.
put in any beautiful dashboard and all, right? So I didn't able to find out, but I tried to,
Mm.
but
Mhm.
didn't get
This is a
any
new
update yet.
concept, right? Maybe that will be there under process or something. Let's
Exactly.
see. Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Uh, that information is not available anywhere.
Yep.
This concept itself is new, right? Okay. Let's go back.
One
Yes.
more thing from Abhi.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even non-conformant APIs are allowed to go further, or they are blocked from further developed, or this is something which customer can define based on severity.
No, non-conformants are not allowed. They need to be fixed. Okay. Because unless it's a conformant, okay, your company, or whoever is a reviewer, right? That is not going to allow it. Okay, so those are the minimum requirement. Conformant is not something wrong with your code, right? It's the best practices and the governance, right? That has to be minimum requirement. That is not allowed. Okay, so it has to get fixed. Somebody will come here, he will notify, go ahead and fix it. Okay, that I will get an email. I'll show you the email also. Let me show you email. Just a second. I'll just show you the email how it looks in case of. So this is the okay scenario only, guys. Okay, so if you see you'll get an email here, and here if your API is not passing the rule sets, here you'll get option, and directly from here you can open it in the design center. It will show you the violations over there. Okay.
Yeah, Ashish, there is one fun fact is
Mm-hmm.
if you apply this rule set at the design level, then it will not allow you to, upload to the exchange. But for example, if you are not designing your API or
Mm-hmm.
like you're not putting the dependency,
Mm-hmm.
but you publish your APIs on the exchange and then you applying the governance on it and it's not passed, right? It is
Mm-hmm.
non-conformant. Then it's allow you to apply the policy even. It will not restrict you after that.
Okay, so you are saying that if you are not applying it, okay, so the profile is actually validating. In that case, you are saying you are able to proceed with that, right?
Let's say take a two scenario. One, for
Mm-hmm.
example, I just create a sample raml and I'll put the rule set as a dependency,
Mm-hmm.
and my API is not following the all the rules, so it will
Mm-hmm.
not allow me to publish to the exchange,
Correct,
right?
correct, because there are
Now,
errors. Mm-hmm.
exactly. Now I just remove the dependency. It will allow me to publish on the exchange.
Okay.
Okay, and then
Mm-hmm.
I go to the governance and I'll put all these criteria that I want to filter on governance. The governance will provide or give the proper things like it's not following these rules and all. But then again you can go to the API manager and apply that policy over that particular API. It will not restrict you to further.
Okay. So basically, you're bypassing, right? So
Exactly.
when you're saying API governance, right, that
Mm,
dashboard is there to notify if that API is not.
yeah.
So if you're not notifying, means you're actually saying, okay, I'm okay,
Yes,
right?
yes,
You're
yes,
allowing, right?
correct.
So yeah. So one check, there'll be a gate, right? So unless this API governance is reviewed by the reviewer, right, you
Hmm.
you should not go and start implementation. So
Correct.
there is in my client, for my client,
Hmm.
that's what we are going to see. So my API governance has to be in normal state, not at risk. Okay, so there is
Right.
a there is a there is a right. So my more than 70% should follow. And if my API is like experience API, I'm not going to allow at all, because that is the API which is actually the entry gate for my environment, right? For my territory. So for experience API, there is no excuse. You can go ahead and bypass, but you're bypassing. You're saying, okay, I'm allowed. I'm okay with this error. So you are making mistake, not the Anypoint platform. Anypoint platform is saying that, boss, go ahead and notify this particular API owner. Okay, but you are not doing that. That means you are bypassing it.
Yeah, so that's the checkpoint. We the manual we have still we have, but we can more customize or enhance it. Like if it is more than 70, then only it's you can see in API manager.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it will not be able to see that.
Got it.
There will be a strict action, or they need be approval on that. Means like
Yeah.
if you really want it, just approve it, and then only you will able to see that. That kind
Correct.
of some sort of enhancement we can do.
Correct.
Because if we it's a new for us, and it's very much applicable for the new APIs, and we can very much go ahead and all the rule set, right, and we'll apply it. But what about the old one? We can't go and update and put the dependency in and all, right?
Correct. Correct. Correct.
So there will be a challenge, but yeah, we should have that, because we have a different sort of statuses. So
Yeah.
just putting a dashboard, it's not enough. We should
Right.
put some sort of restriction as well, like, boss, if it is high severity, I will not even allow you to visible on the API manager, because you are violating it, because you are using profiles and governance rule set, you are applying all these things, right? But still, why
Mm-hmm.
you are not skipping it? It's not really make sense. Either you just remove your API from the governance itself.
Yeah.
Ashish Gaza, I think what I feel, right, the industry is
Mm-hmm.
still maturing on this API
Yeah,
journey,
exactly.
right? And
We are just
even
talking about enhancements, like, because we have a
correct.
beautiful like concepts or capabilities.
See,
It's just an
to
enhancement.
me, this works when you're API first, right? I mean, the fact is we are not really API first, right? At many places now, what we are talking right now here is first you put an open API spec, you know what the API would cater, and then you build the API, right? Many a times, as
Right.
you said, you have APIs which are already available. You are just hosting them on MuleSoft or any
Correct.
gateway,
Correct.
right? And that is where you'll have the challenges. Even let's say I have backend application. Let's say I'm SAP, right? So I have an API from SAP, which is the SAP API, and which would have their own different set of rules because it is coming from a SaaS vendor. Now, I cannot change what is given by a SaaS vendor, right? Even if you look at BigQuery APIs, they are typical Google APIs. So, and as an organization, the challenge, Ashish, which I see, right? I work a lot on APIs. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's, I mean, yes, what I'm developing in house, it is easy to enforce. Whatever comes from SaaS products, you cannot, right? In those cases, you're not really building those APIs, you're using gateway just to host those APIs. And
Correct. Correct.
maybe I think what you said on profiles, there can be multiple profiles in that case, right?
Yep.
Correct.
Yep.
And I can have profiles per depending on the categories of my APIs.
So yeah, guys, you are in right direction. But this API governance, what we are seeing right now, this is
Mhm.
MuleSoft specific,
Yeah, yeah,
MuleSoft
yeah, I know
specific
that.
API.
Yes.
And one more, to avoid all this, whatever you mentioned, right? What we have done, we
Mhm.
have applied this governance on template itself.
Correct.
Okay, so if you're applying on template, right, there is no chance of this drama, right? So
Agreed,
it will come as
agreed. You have mandated, right? You have mandated the
correct.
process. I'll tell you what we do in our company, right? We use
Hmm.
spectral linting, right? We have
Hmm.
set up all the rules in spectral linting rule set, and we
Hmm.
make people to write the open API spec and validate it against the spectral linting rules which we have set up for the company, right?
Okay.
Now, again, the
Hmm.
challenge is it is out of the system. We use APG in our
Hmm.
scenario, and
Hmm.
there is no direct linkage. I have some linkages which are done in the CI/CD level, but
Hmm.
still there is no hard binding. What you have done in MuleSoft or MuleSoft has done, okay, the start point, you have defined a governance, you can't go further unless you define an API spec based on the governance,
Correct.
right? Okay. And Ashish,
Yes.
one more point,
Hmm.
right? And
Hmm.
maybe that's a suggestion to MuleSoft, if you can take that. I
Hmm.
mean, won't this somewhere help you to drive out the maturity level of your APIs?
Yeah. So, I mean, first thing is like making your API standard across your organizations. That is the one thing. Making
Correct.
your APIs more secure. That is the second benefits
Correct.
you're getting. Best practices, you don't need to even read about those best practices. If you're trying to have a data graph endpoint,
Mhm.
automatically governance rules are there. Rule set is there for the data graphs. Automatically out of the box, you are getting those things. Means you are actually blocking all the loopholes if you are missing anything when you are doing without API governance. Unknowingly, you are blocking all the holes by using this API governance. And this is for asynchronous API also we are getting it now, and we are getting it from data graph. Earlier, when we, as I mentioned, right, when we started, it was only for REST APIs, which are posted on, published in Exchange.
Yeah. Thanks, Ashish.
Yeah. Okay, so if you want to see the life cycle, right? So you will start, creating profiles. So even if you want to automate entire stuff, you can use Anypoint CLI. So start installing that. Okay, Anypoint governance CLI. It's a Anypoint CLI only. Okay, so if you are having old, go ahead and update it. If it is old, right, you won't be able to see governance over there. Okay, so you need to update it. Then you'll see the governance over there. Okay, so Anypoint CLI will have governance commands now. So from that, you can create governance profile, you can validate your rule set, you can validate the API, you can create the documentation for your rule sets. All that is available in the Anypoint platform, Anypoint CLI for the automation. Then identify the APIs, which API you wanted to govern. Okay. Then configure your profile. Okay. So and identify what all rule sets you want, and then monitor that. Okay. So if you are getting any issues, go ahead and fix those. The owner will be doing that. Okay, so designer will be doing that fixing, and then have a look at the status. In Exchange also you'll see the status now. Okay, in the Exchange also you'll be able to see it is a non-concurrent, conformant, or not validated. Those status will be, you can see it in the Exchange. So how the overall governance life cycle you'll see in nutshell. Okay. So CLI, yeah. Go ahead.
There's a question from Sagnik. Where do we configure those percentages for signifying high, medium, low severity? Where can we customize those thresholds?
Okay. No, that is inbuilt. Okay, on the dashboard you'll see that. Okay, in the dashboard, that if it is high severity rates, that means the percentage is 0 to 40. Okay, if it is medium, means it's the it's there in the documentation, guys. Okay, and it's behind the scene, it's applied in the API governance. Okay, so these rules are there automatically written over there. So how the medium, high, and low severity will be decided based on those criteria. Those are inbuilt to the API governance. Okay. Not sure with the Anypoint CLI can change that from the backend, but it's there right now in out of the box. We can't see that. Okay. So in the documentation that is mentioned how that severity will be decided. So based on the rules which on the API, if it is 0 to 40%, then it will be high. 41 to 80% will be medium, and from 81 to 99 will be low. Okay, so we are not defining anywhere those values. We are just configuring your profile. That's it, and filtering the APIs. These APIs I want. Okay, so am I audible?
Yes, Ashish, you are.
Okay. So we already talked about these benefits, but let me recap again. So first thing is making consistency. So all the APIs will be standard across the your enterprise, and those will be consistent. Okay. So if you are following system APIs, all system API looks like similar. Okay. And then quality, security, as I mentioned, right? So sometimes we don't know few things, right? So if you immediately apply, let's say, data graph best practices, right? So automatically it will block all those holes. So we'll be definitely improving the quality and the security. We have best practices for all kinds of API now, Open API, Async API, REST API, and we have best practices for data graph also now. We have this rule set for to reduce this to 10 web applications security threads. Okay, so this I'll show you the link what all threads are this, and this rule sets is there already there to avoid it. Okay, and when we are applying this rule sets in the design center itself, there itself will be able to see that okay, these are the things I'm missing it, just fix it there. So design time, we are ensuring that those are conformant against your profile or against your rule sets. because that's the advantage we are getting with the API governance. And as I mentioned, right, to avoid asking designer to apply the API governance, we have applied in API template itself. So, and we are enforcing that everybody should use those templates. Those are created by the SQL. And I think that should be the practice, I guess. Okay, yeah. Let's move on and see if there are no questions. Yeah.
Ashish, I have one more question. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, man. Why? Sorry. Go ahead.
Too many questions are not good at
No,
times.
no.
Okay.
It's good to have questions.
So governance, right? And when we started the session, we said the best practices when enforced becomes governance, right? So
Correct.
let me take our scenario, right? What we said, we will not allow any API which is not having a quota policy, right? So a quota policy on an API is a best practice, right?
Correct.
Now, when we mandated that, it becomes a governance.
Correct.
Now, is that covered as part of this governance or conformance check, right? Which we just discussed.
Yeah. So one thing is here, which is security scheme specific. So you said, right,
Correct.
you're applying some policy, so that means some security scheme or some header has to be there in your designs raml itself, right?
Correct.
So for example, if I'm applying a client ID enforcement, right, and so I'm saying security, right, so that security schemes has to be there, and otherwise it will fail. So that is somehow catching on.
Yeah, that's one security scheme, right? Now, if you look at the quota policy, it's not really a security scheme. If I would have to say, if there is a quota policy, I would have an error code defined as 429. Correct. Now, again, what I've seen based on experience, I can write 100 things in the open API spec, right? I can say that my error codes would be 401, 403, 404, 429, etc. Now, from RAML perspective, it looks good, but I do not really know whether it works in real time or not. I mean, maybe the person has put it on the design, but never implemented it. What I'm trying to say there is how whatever I design on an API, how I make sure it is considered in the development as well.
Yeah. So you are saying the spec has that.
Yes.
But okay. So first point is this governance is for scanning your design part only. This is specific to the design.
Right.
So if in your design, if things are there and if those are not implemented, then the code river has to catch that, right?
Yeah. So basically, is there a way further to validate whatever you have defined on the design that it is part of the implementation as well?
I don't
See,
think so.
I'm happy saying,
Yeah.
okay, my API is conformant, my design is good, right? All good. But when it comes to the practical situation, how the developer finally developed it, I find that many of the things which were put onto the design are not part of the real implementation.
Correct.
Right? So it's like theory versus practical. Theory is your design, and practical is what you really implement in the system. Now, is there a way we can have a check around that? I mean, as part of MuleSoft.
Yeah. So we have few things. So one thing is static code scan. So there you can write a rule. Okay. So we have Maven plugins now. So instead of using a code scanner, we have Maven plugin. Dependency. You can use that, and you can write your own rules, and that you can put it in the parent POM. So now the parent POM will be applicable to every implementation. Now, when you are running Maven testing, right, that is also will be running as part of your build process, and that
is it again a user-friendly setup? See, we do that today. I mean, if you ask me, we do that, right? In our CI/CD scripts, we do look at the code and we say, oh, this policy is there or not. I mean, the answer to the question which I said, right? If quota policy is there or not in the code, I can fail it, right? In the build or deployment, wherever I want. But again, that's again out of the box. No, not out of the box, right? It's something which I have to manually go and manage on my own.
Correct. Because this is business specific, right? Your business specific stuff. And that will be implemented by the C4E. So that is not a responsibility of a really developer. Developer doesn't know. Yeah.
What you're saying is right. I'm just saying the means, right? Is there an easy mean? See, what you gave on this first presentation was an easy mean, right? I can go and define my rule sets on a UI and get them in. Similar to that, would I have an easy way to get the rule set for my code check?
I'll say yes, but you should be expert in that, how to write those rules.
Okay.
Option is
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
which is fine.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thanks.
So option is there. Yeah. And we are writing actually. So for for our client, we are writing those rules. Okay. And we are running that as part of our build process. So all those checks will be checked during our build process. We are not using any code scanner right now. We are using only Maven dependency that is there, and we are writing our rules. Those rules will be validated against our input.
Yeah, I mean, basically, those rules are then out of MuleSoft platform. As in,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
that's what I'm saying. If MuleSoft is giving,
No. Out of the box. Out of the box is not there.
Okay.
So we need to write.
Sure. Thanks, Ashish.
And that is the responsibility of C4, and that is in place in our parent form. We have concept of parent form, so there we are writing those things. So developer no need to worry about that. Okay, so I mean, if he missed it, definitely it will get catch over there in the build process.
Okay, thanks, Ashish.
Okay, so let's look at the how the out of the box governance rule set looks like. Okay, so hope this is not familiar with you guys, but this is looks like the YAML format, right? Isn't it? You just have a look at and scan it. So first line, it's a validation profile 1.0, and then you'll be giving the profile name. So this is exactly the definition of HTTP enforcement rule set, guys. Okay, so have a look at it. So there is a profile tag, there is a tags which is a category is security. Then this rule set is actually implementing two what I say rules. One is your design, the base URI should have HTTPS, and your callback should have HTTPS. So these two things are mentioned over this kind of declaration under violation tags, and that while validations are actually implementing those violations here. So if you look at this guy, use HTTPS for URLs, you'll see in the validation section. In validations, this is actually trying to call the class called server under I was talking about, right, AMF framework. So I'll show you that. I'll show you the documentation for that and how it looks. So basically, this loop is trying to call this particular class, and then it's trying to validate the property called URL template, and that URL template should follow this pattern. Okay, so it should start with HTTPS and rest of the thing. So this is how it is implemented. Okay, now if you apply this to your design, it will only validate the base URL. Okay, and if you have callbacks, then it will validate callbacks. So this is how the existing out of the box rule sets will be there. Now this is already there in your exchange. I'll show you that where you can find it. But now if you want to customize this, let's say I want to allow in the base URI, I want to allow HTTP also. Now you can go ahead here, and in the pattern you can add or HTTP. And last line also you can add or we are going to customize it. So I'm just giving you the glimpse. Okay. So this is how the out of the box looks like, and this is the basic pattern of the rule set. So profile will be there, tags, violations, validations. Okay, 4 things will be there, and violations will be listing down what all rules, and those rules will be actually configured in the validations, and these validations will be connecting those rules with the actual AMF classes. So those classes will be there, and then those will be executed against. So these are the values we are passing to those classes, and those classes will be executed whenever you are applying this rule set to the design. Now we'll see something which I have discussed during my starting of the session, right? So I gave that RAML, right? In that RAML, maybe you can go back and have a look at it. I'll just open it again. So now, for example, you want to enforce some rules or governance on this title, on version, right? On base URI, maybe on your resource path. Okay, let's see how we can implement this. Okay, so let's say my requirement is title should have the the API specific let's say sys-API or PRC-API or EXP-, that is, let's say, my standard. My version should be V1. My base URI should allow me either HTTP or HTTPS. And my resource path should be only camel case, no other. So hello-user is not allowed. Capital H is not allowed. Only allowed is hello user. Okay, so let's see. All small case, that is fine. But if we are connecting two words, then it has to be the camel case. Okay, let's see that. Okay, let's go back quickly. So let's have a look at it. Okay, I'm going to show you the demo for this also, but let's see. So if you see, I'm just adding validation part because that's only the important part. So I'm saying title constraints here. If you look at this pattern, right? Hope regular expressions you are aware of it, right? So what I'm saying is the title, which is coming from the class called web API, okay, and the property is name. Okay, core.name, that is the property, and that property should follow this pattern. Should end with exp-API $, that is what the ending, system API $, process API $. Okay, now that is the first governance I'm trying to apply on my title. Second one for the version. Okay, so version is again coming from the web API class, and the property name is core.version. Okay, and if you see the pattern, simply I'm saying start with V, and this V can followed by a single digit, either 1 till 9 and end. Okay, so I'm saying V1 till V1, it's allowed in version. Then I was having one more thing, which is the resource name, right? So resource path name. So this guy is actually connecting to the endpoint class, okay, in the AMF framework, and the property name is path. And if you look at this particular pattern, you can find this on Google. You don't need to mug up this pattern. You just googling for camel case regular expression, you'll find this. Okay, so you need to add this and make sure you are using single quote, guys. Okay, I unknowingly use a double quotes, and I was facing issue for while uploading this particular rule set to my exchange. So make sure you are using single quote while passing this particular pattern. Everywhere try to use the single quote. Here I use double quotes, right? But when I use double quote for this guy was throwing there. So just an observation. Okay. Now let's go ahead and jump on to too much talking. So let's jump on to the demo. The second demo will be on generating the documentation and publishing it to the exchange via Anypoint CLI. So first, we'll look at the actual out of the box governance rule set. Second demo, we'll customize our or we'll write from the scratch rule set. We'll publish it to the exchange. We'll apply to our API, okay, API design, and then we'll write a documentation by using Anypoint CLI, okay, and then publish it from there. Okay, so let's jump on to the demo part. Any questions, Malkish? Any questions before jumping onto this?
No, we are good, Ashish. You can go ahead.
Ashish, one question. Maybe I didn't follow it correctly. So,
okay,
the rules which you said or you're showing there, we have to type and write those, or those are auto-generated based on the UIs which you have?
Okay, let me go back. Okay, this one, which is the custom rule set. There is no UI to generate it. Just we need to go and manually write this.
Okay.
And the skeleton, you can get it from the existing rule set. You can take the existing rule set. So let me show you the existing
template, basically, right? That's a template, and then basically I change whatever I want.
Yes. Yes. Okay. But this is a fix. So profile, then tags, then violations, validations, invalidations. So based on these entries, those many entries will be here. So let's say I have 4 entries here. So definitely 4 configurations will be here.
Yeah, basically it's a template which your framework would use further to validate. Right?
Yeah.
That's the input.
Existing you can download it, look at it, how it's implemented, and same thing you can customize it, or you can start writing from scratch.
Okay.
But you need to follow this.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, let me show you first. Let's go one by one. Let's not skip anything. So let's first go to the exchange. Okay. So if you go to the exchange, so let me go back to the exchange. So right now we have 8 rule sets available. Okay, so you go here, provided by mulesoft, and now new category is added over here, asset category called rule sets. And if you go here, you'll find 8 rule sets. You can open any one of them. Okay, open it. And if you want to say, okay, so you go ahead and look one rule I was talking about, right? This guy is actually connecting to the AMF framework, right? So let's look at this. I'll just ping this URL in, or maybe if you are there in Anypoint Exchange, you can go ahead and do that. I'll just paste this link in the chat. You can have a look at it. Okay. Now, here, you can find, see, so server class is there. So let me search for one of the class which I was searching for, web API. Now this web API is just go ahead and see here. This is API contract web API. This is related to the HTTP API types. And here you'll find name, which is specific to the title. And somewhere down you'll see version also here. Version. So I use this name and version for my customization. Okay. So again, I am not expert in this AMF framework. Just for my session I went through, and somehow I got all this information. So you need to explore this. Okay, this is AMF framework. This is there in the GitHub. Yeah, just ping you the link. I'll recommend to please explore this. Okay. So whatever rule sets are implemented, those are implemented on this framework, AMF. Okay, let's go back. So from here, you can see how those, if you go back, if you want to see some other rule set. Required example, you can go ahead and see here. So this is connecting to the payload class. Okay, so this is encoded payload using this. So this guy is actually scanning your whether you have given examples to your incoming request, response, parameters or not. So this rule set is actually scanning that those tags from your API design. So you can explore this. Okay, let me go back to. So you can go ahead and download this from here. So I already downloaded it. Let me show you. So I downloaded already here. So if I say enforce HTTPS enforce, this is that what I was showing you there. Okay, so this is the out of the box rule set. See here. So this is pointing into server and callback. Now the other one, required example, that also I have downloaded. And if you see this is a little complex. The format, okay, so profile, tag, violation, validation. Now, whatever you have mentioned here, right? So you have declared, right? These are the rules. Then you need to configure here. So again, this is again standard pattern. Okay, so your rule name, your description, in then which class you are targeting. So payload, okay. And then here is actually scanning that and checking whether it's greater than 0 or not. Okay. So these are the two existing ones. Now let's go back. Now I want to implement mine. Okay. So which is the requirement of our. So I'll just go to this page. Okay. So this is the requirement where we want to implement this guy, and this guy. 4 4 rules we are going to implement. So let's go ahead and create rule set. So let me create a new folder. Okay, so now, so to save time, what I can do is get the skeleton from here and then add our rules, right? So we'll take the skeleton and Control P, and what we'll do, we'll okay, this one I have already implemented. Anything? Control C. This is the existing one, right? Let me save this. Okay. Now, am I doing something wrong here? Now let's see, let's change this profile. So this is, let's say, practice. Okay, description. Just add Meetup. Practices, okay. And this is not security specific, so we'll say this is best practices. Best practices. Okay. Now let's go ahead and see all those 4 rules. So what I say, okay. So this one. So one is related to title, one is related to version, one is related to the base URI, and another is related to the resource path. So whatever name you give here, so just give some meaningful name. So let's say API, I'll say title constraints. Okay. So on title we want the constraints. Then I want on version, and I want on base URI. And finally, I want on resource path. Resource content. Now, in validation, I need to add all these things. So let's say first one is representing this. Second one is representing this guy. Definitely will be changing the configuration. Okay, this is not correct. So what I'll go ahead and just copy this guy. Okay. So now the third one is specific to the base URI. I'll go and change the third one. Hope everybody is following me. If you have any questions, anything I'm doing wrong or doing spelling mistakes, let me know. Okay, so almost skeleton is ready now. Okay, right? So profile, description, tag I've given the violations. These are my 4 rules. And now in here we need to do the configuration. So what I'll say here, okay, so let's put some message here. So API should have API name format something say sys hyphen API or API or API. Okay, simply I'm writing those things. Now target class, I already mentioned, right? So API contract, we are not going to connect server, we are going to connect to web API. Okay, and the property is here, we are using main. Now pattern, so you can simply add the pattern here. So hyphen, we'll start with exp hyphen API and to int. Okay, this or ERC, no, with hyphen ERC hyphen API dollar, or you can go ahead and have binaries. Let's say these are my standards. Okay, so my title should have these things, end with this. Okay, so this is one. Okay, one. Now second one is related to the version. So let's go ahead here. Again, this is API, and we'll add something over here. So API version should be like, okay, we start say V1 or V2 and so on. Here with API, and if you remember what is the property is core and dot version. Okay, core dot version. Okay, pattern. So if you remember, pattern is V, and if you are not expert, guys, you can go ahead and look at this. So this is what we are saying, and it should end, right? So we are saying it should start small v, then you can have any digit from 1 to 9 and should end. So this is what we are saying here. Okay, so two things are done. Now third one is related to the base URI, right? So base URI, if you look at this is same, right? This is what we are targeting, base URI. So just I need to add here, I need to add or, and I need to say, sorry, dot http colon, what we can do. So what I'm saying is I'm going to allow http also, and this one is version specific, and this one is the titles. Okay, now finally the resource. In the resource, okay, so here we say API should allow http or https, and then server. Hope I'm not missing anything. Web API, and I'm not going to add callbacks. So let's keep the callback. API resource name should be in campus, right? Like so user instead of hello hyphen user or hello user. Okay, and this is actually endpoint class. Okay, and the property is, let me check what is the property. Let's go to the presentation. Somewhere here. Hope you guys are following me. So it's API contract path, and actually I take this because I don't want to search it again. API contract endpoint with API is fine. Right? Everything's fine. Everything's fine. So I just change this. You need to follow the syntax of YAML format. Okay. So one tab inside. I change it to single code because I was facing some issue. This is fine. Okay, so that's it, guys. Okay, so okay, this is any
Yeah,
questions over here? Yeah.
you missed something like the
Where?
colon still there in the version pattern
Version pattern, just where version.
after the dollar in version constraint.
Oh, version constant.
After the dollar, do you need that?
Oh yes, double quotes. Colon you said I was searching for colon.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay, so yeah. All looks good. If if anything is wrong, definitely will get an error. So we'll see that. Okay. Okay. Now I have created this rule set. Now manually we can use the UI exchange UI to upload this. Okay. So before that, we'll go to our page. Hope I am changing this one only. Correct. Go back to the folder. Create a zip file for this. Okay. Zip file. Say Coimbatore. Meetup. Dot. Change it. Take it. Okay. Now create this zip file. Now we'll go to our exchange. Okay. Now from here you can upload it. So let's go ahead and here we'll give an asset name. So, and we'll select the asset type. And here we'll select that file. So here is my file.
We can select YAML even. Zip it.
I'm following this pattern, so let me do that. Yeah, let's YAML also. Let's try. You are seeing that. Let me experiment. YAML. So yeah, it's pointing to YAML. So let's publish it. So if everything is fine, there are no errors. We'll see a new rule set in our. Great. Okay. Now if we go to our right, refresh. Yeah, you can see here new rule set are added. But now if you see, this is completely empty, right? Like the rule sets which we are seeing from the mulesoft, right? These guys are having documentation. If you go and see this particular Anypoint based practice, right? All these guys are having documentation. How to generate this documentation? We'll see that. Okay, in the next part of the demo. So now let's go ahead and what we can do. We go to design center first and try to play with our. Okay, so I have RAML already. First we'll break that RAML and then we'll apply the rule set, our rule set. Okay, so now if you look at my so already one rule set is there. I'll just remove that first. Remove it. Okay, so there are no rule set on this particular RAM. Everything is fine. So what I'll do, I'll go ahead and say 1.0.0 here. In the title, I'm just breaking right now. Okay, guys. So this is user RESTful API. And here I'll say HTTP. Okay, now here under these are fine. Instead of ping, I'll just change it to, let's say, hello hyphen user, let's say. So these are against my standards, right? So this, I should not use HTTP here. Okay, I should not use title like this. I should use V1 here, but intentionally I did it. Okay. Now we'll first apply the existing out of the box rule. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'll apply HTTP enforcement first, and we'll see. So now if you look errors, now it's saying that boss you should have HTTPS. Now if I go ahead here and fix it, the error will be gone. This is how to apply the existing one. Okay, so the error is gone now. Okay, now I want this. Okay, and let's go ahead. First, I'll remove this. I don't want this existing one. I'll go ahead and I'll apply the my. Just now we have created. And I have two rule sets here, right? So the existing one, I'll remove it. Confirm. Now, if you see here, it says should be in camel case, but I have a doubt why this guy is not throwing error for this. Okay, let's see. Let's only one error I'm able to see. Okay, let's fix first this one. And if I say user, but why this guy is allowing this? Let's look at our rule set, what we are missing here. So we are applying on web API. Let me check what is correct one. Oh, it should be capital API. Okay, so let's correct this. Hope you got the idea, right? So we made a mistake here and it's not getting validated. So if you look at our rammer right now, it's allowing this. It should not, right? This allowing this also. But HTTP is working now. There is no error on HTTP. So these two things are working. Okay, this one and this one. If I put a hyphen here around, it will throw error. Okay. By mistake, if I add something here, it's right now allowing only HTTP and HTTPS. If a mistakenly I remove one T from here, the second error also is coming. That means two rules are working properly. I made a mistake knowingly. So if I now check in, save this.
Ashish, one point
Yes.
on this, when you're writing this target class web API, that's a keyword kind of thing, right?
Correct.
Shouldn't it be a check when you're uploading this file and the MuleSoft doesn't allow you to upload because you have used something which is not right?
Nothing is validated. When you are uploading to the exchange, right? Nothing is validated. Let's say you are uploading your MuleSoft application, right? It's kind of same thing.
Yeah, but the basics, see, I know it will not validate what you have written in the pattern because that is up to you what you write there. But the target class, because that cannot be out of whatever you have, right? If you have 5, and if you do a mistake there are two places you can do mistake. One is defining the rule, which is more around line number 24 or 31. But target class is more of a standard which you have to choose between 4 or 5. And if you're not using one of those, it should rather fail you up and say there is something wrong in the file, please check.
Yeah. It was failing for this guy. I have checked it. It was failing for this pattern.
Okay.
But it didn't fail for this. Just now we have seen, right? So,
correct. Yeah. Was that the reason it was not showing you anything in the documentation?
Where?
When you uploaded and you were trying to look at the documentation, right?
No. Documentation won't come. If you do that manually, right, it won't come.
Okay.
I'll show you how to get the documents. That is the next part of our okay. So let me fix this first. So save everything. And
so Ashish, even from CLI, we can't validate our rules. CLI commands.
We can validate. We can validate even document. You can download our RAML.
So this mistake that we did right now. So can we validate before publishing it, right?
Yes.
So there is a way to validate it because we are using a UI. They are looking for a valid YAML. They are not looking for content. What we are putting it. They are checking the syntax only is as per the YAML or not. But there is a command we have, we can very well go and validate, even though this classes and all on the backend they are validating and through an error if it is not as per the standard that AMF that we have. So we
Yeah,
can
that
have
is
the command. Yeah.
yeah, that is the next part of the tool.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me go now, and first what we can do is, or maybe let me give the different name to that particular. Go to Exchange quickly. Now let's not update that. We'll go to the backend now, and from the backend we'll create document for this guy, and then we'll upload it from the backend itself instead of doing like this. Okay. So now you can go ahead and start the command line from here. Get your command line and log into your Anypoint CLI. Okay, so if you are not updated it, you can go ahead and update it. So to update that command, let me show you the commands. You can go ahead and run this command. Okay, to update your Anypoint CLI to the latest. Hope you are able to see my screen. You can find this command in the documentation also. Okay, so first do this, update your Anypoint CLI, log into your Anypoint CLI. Everyone knows there should be one file in your user directory. Okay, .anypoint and credentials. There you can provide all the credentials of, the which environment you want to connect. Okay, what is your credential, what is your business group name, all those things you can add it over there and then connect here. Now, first thing, so let's say now a rule set is ready. So hope this is my rule set. Yeah, this is my rule set. Let me close everything and then figure out which one is. So this is our end. This is our rule set. So now rule set is ready. Now first I need to create a document for this. So now there are commands over here. So if you update it, right, you'll find governance command here. And there is a command called document. Okay. So now you need to pass two paths here. One for your YAML file, ruleset.yaml file, and another where you want to generate that document. Okay. So those two paths we need to pass. So let's build that first. So now if you look at my command, this is the command. It's a governance document, path to the ruleset YAML file and path to the ruleset document zip file. Okay, so let's build that command. So governance. Okay, so the YAML file path, let me go to the folder till here. This will be the path. Try to add it in double quotes to be better. If there are spaces. Second path is to have a zip file, right? So in the same location, I'll create ruleset document file. So it will be .zip. We'll run this command. We'll be getting document. Okay, hope everything's fine. Now you'll see in your directory document file, if you open it, you'll see all these files, .md files. Okay, so I don't want this. Okay. Now, so your documentation is ready, your rule set is ready. Now we can upload it to the Exchange. How we can do that? So there is a next command. So this governance command is to generate the document. Now we have exchange command. Okay, so in Anypoint still we have exchange command to upload the asset, and we have now latest version of the exchange command, which is upload version 2. Okay, so I'll give you the link. Read about this. This is faster and this is an improved version of the last upload command. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll try to configure this command. So let me take this one and configure as per our. So I don't want CLI because I am inside the CLI. Exchange asset upload v2, name of the asset. So we'll give name of our asset. We'll say tour. That is the asset name. Description also same descriptions I'll give. Properties. So ruleset.yaml. So this will be the main file, and files rulesets.zip file. So I'll be giving the path of the where is my ruleset zip file. So I'll just take that ruleset, this one. Hope you guys are following me. Let's see. Here I'm just passing the path of my ruleset zip file. Okay, so this is the property I have configured. Now second one is you need to give the asset coordinates. Okay, so every assets when you upload it to the exchange, right, it will have coordinates. So this will be your asset ID. So just give some unique name. So we have given something like this. So we'll give the same name over here in the smaller case. So Meetup and best practices. Okay, and the version is 1. So if you're next time you're uploading it, right, so try to make it 1.0.1. Okay, and then where is my document file? So I got a zip file for that, right? So that zip file is rules.doc.zip, where it is. So exactly in the same location. So I'll just copy this path. It's there in the. So my ruleset.zip file also there, and my docs file also there. So I'll just put it. Okay. So we have given asset name. Then where is my ruleset.yaml file? Okay, and then we have given the coordinate of our asset, and then where is the document zip file. Okay, let's go ahead and upload this.
There is one forward slash you extra added, I think, in the last last line.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, man. Okay, let's go ahead and run this command. Okay, test it. Hope everything's fine. Upload it to description, properties, main file, where it is, ruleset.yaml, that is the file name, zip file. Okay. So if everything is fine, it will get uploaded to my exchange. So let's see. Refresh. So meanwhile, if you have any questions, let me know, guys. So this, what this will do, this is uploading our asset also, and automatically, since we have generated document, that document will be attached to that asset, and you'll be able to see proper documentation for our ruleset also. Okay.
MuleSoft gives you ways to control who can do what, right, Ashish? I mean, to me, this would be typically done by the COE or C4E team, right?
Correct.
And another question: when
Mhm.
you were trying it and you were choosing the rules to be checked against the OpenAPI spec,
Mhm.
is there a way you can mandate it, or you leave it at the mercy of the developer or the designer to choose or not choose?
No, no. API governance profile will be created by C4E team only, right?
Correct.
The
No, I'm saying
profile, in
that
profile, you can select the what rule sets you want.
correct.
Now, if you're talking about the implementation of rule set, then again it goes to the requirement. So the C4E team will decide. The developer is not going to do anything over here.
Correct. But the I mean, this part is done. You are set. You're all good, right? I'm saying I'm trying to develop a new API,
Mhm.
okay, and design it in your designer. How
Mhm.
does the rule gets by default applied to it? Is there a
You're going to use API template.
okay?
In the
And
API template, already the rule sets are applied.
okay, so okay, I can't escape from the rule set.
Correct, correct.
Okay,
That's what I said, right? You said, right, if developer miss this thing, this thing, these things, right?
correct.
So we are recommending use the API template.
Okay,
It's there in the C4E
okay,
HTML.
okay. Thanks.
So in the first gate itself, we have applied it. So from our side, we have applied it. So we are enforcing what there.
Yeah.
What happened? Nothing is uploaded, man. What happened? It's still uploading. Anything missing here? No.
And I mean, I'm not so familiar with MuleSoft. I'm just comparing with GCP and Azure when I use these kind of things. Is MuleSoft also the same way as GCPs, wherein they give you more features on CLI, less on UI, and they keep on enhancing to add those features to UI?
It's exactly same. Whatever we do on UI, right? Whatever click we are doing here, right? All these things are possible via CLI. And
Well,
actually,
no, I'm saying the other way around. CLI would have much more, right, than UI.
uh,
No?
no, I would say equal. I mean,
Oh, okay.
say
Okay. Okay.
uh, uh, in one scenario, I saw that from the UI, it's not possible only through CLI. So I was configuring data graph DLB URL. That is
Mm-hmm.
not possible from UI. So you're correct. I think CLI has little more weightage than UI. So the UI, where I was not able to do the, I was not able to configure the Anypoint data graph DLB URL. Okay,
You got it done.
I'm not sure, but I'll show sometime the network issue.
Got in a timeout. What is that?
Okay, okay. So that's the only process, guys. Okay, so maybe I'll give one more try. So exchange, we'll have to do anything is missing. That is double quote. That is in double quote. The path in double quotes. Uh, let me check these paths. Do we have this path properly? So keep it till here. Control C. Yes, there are two files over here. Ruleset.c and this one. And Ruleset. Okay, I'll give one more try. If it's not uploading, I have already one asset uploaded. There is something. Cannot create new asset with the provided group ID in asset. So something got created. Now, why it is not refreshing? Okay. Okay. So one I have already uploaded, guys. Okay, same process. So you can see now there are 4 rules violations which are created with the same process, and you can see it's pointing to the web API. So web API we refer to put a governance on title and version, right? remember. And now if you see, it's taking you to that proper documentation, baby documentation from there itself. And for each constraints, you can see this got generated via the Anypoint CLI. So if I go ahead and make it 1.0.1, is it allowing me? Yeah, so that's it from my side. So if you want to see the, if you want to get the documentation, this is the command. I'll share this command. It's there in the presentation also, but you can find it in the these are the URLs. You can find it here also. I just ping this reference URLs in chat. These are the two URLs. You can find exchange specific command, Anypoint CLI specific commands. Yeah. Just not sure. It's uploading it, but sometime. Right. Okay. So any more questions, guys? So that's part of the demo. And the final slide I have, I recommend. Okay, 2 slides are there. Let me finish those. So on trial account, I saw the limitation. Okay, so I'm not sure about the subscriptions, proper subscriptions, but that is not in my scope. If you wanted to see the really limitations in a licensed product, best people to answer that question is the support team or the Mulesoft guys. Okay, but in the trial account, I saw that after 5 APIs, okay, it throws me error. So you reach the limit of 5 APIs to govern for your subscription. That is for the trial. That's the limit, guys. Okay. Now, second thing is I'll recommend everyone to read these 4 P's of API governance. So what are these 4 P's? One is your API program governance, portfolio governance, product governance, and platform governance. So on top, program governance is there. So it will take to the enterprise level. Second one is your portfolio, which is like set of APIs. That means kind of business or business group specific. And each API in Mulesoft, we treat it as a product, right? So each API, you can go ahead. And the platform will have its own governance, API platform governance. So I'll give this link also. And I recommend everyone to please read this very, very nice blog, 4 P's of API governance. So I'll put it in the chat. This one also. Okay. So that's all from my side, guys. If there are any questions, let me know. Otherwise, over to you, Balkesh.
Okay. Okay, Ashish. Can you share the screen, Ashish, like regarding the Kahoot? I will explain.
Okay. Okay. In the presentation, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll take these 2 slides also. So once this meetup is done, guys. Okay. So if you are really interested in presenting some topic, please contact any of the organizers from this meetup, and please go ahead and post it on the LinkedIn with the hashtag Mulesoft meetups, and we will be using Kahoot quiz because I don't have the slide, Balkesh.
Okay, then I can share it now.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Please log in into kahoot.it. So if you are using a mobile or laptop, please use different device to log in, because you will be seeing the screen question in my screen, and you will.
Can
be
you share your screen?
Yeah,
Can you share your screen, please? You can share your screen.
Okay, I cannot access. I cannot.
Thank you, Ravi Dada.
Just give me a minute.
Ravi, you want to add something? Can you give him a mic? Kavi? Yes, no? Because this is new. Okay, nothing. Fine. Are you sharing or you want me
Yeah.
to share?
Wait.
Is it fine? I mean, I don't see the screen.
Yeah, I'm facing some issue sharing. Just a minute.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Just a minute. I will log into my laptop.
Okay, let me stop the recording. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.